My name is Mitch Benner, and we started this podcast to remove the stigma around sobriety from addiction.
My name is Aaron Nelson. Through our stories and the stories of our guests, we hope to help you find a new path. Let's laugh. This is what we do here. We have fun. Okay. All right. Here we are, friends. Episode 1 of Shattered Darkness. Myself, Aaron Nelson, and our co-host, and you could almost say founder. He's the one that came up with this idea and had the calling to do this, Mitch Benner. How you doing today, buddy?
Doing good. Excited to share my story.
Yeah, man. Yeah. So for those who, well, everybody's going to be new because this is episode 1. We are here to talk about sobriety, destigmatize the word alcoholic, and celebrate it in a way that we should all be proud of.
Yeah.
We're proud of the journey that we fought through. Now we're better. And what we really want to do is help all of you listening find ways to get sober if you are struggling, whether it's therapy, rehab, any way possible. We want you to bring it to the table. Let us know. We can discuss it so that everybody knows how to get sober in your own way, not someone else's.
Yeah. And I definitely think that process is different for everybody, but from a high level, I really enjoyed rehab personally. It just helps me break myself down, So, I'm a huge proponent for rehab. Just kind of helps you learn some tools and tricks that maybe you didn't know in the past and some ways to kind of change your way of thinking. So it was super helpful for me.
Yeah, it's great. Well, let's start from the beginning, man. Start wherever you want. Let's hear your story, man. How'd you get to this point?
Okay. So I'm from Colorado, from Loveland. I was born in Ohio, but my family moved here when I was like 3 months old. So born and raised in Loveland, went to high school here. That was like the end of my education, formal education. But dude, it was good, man. I had a great upbringing, great parents. My dad worked super hard. He was in insurance when I was a kid. He owned an insurance company in Fort Collins. And when I was probably 9 or 10, he made it pretty big. Like he, sold his company, started a human resources company, sold that, made a bunch of money, got into development. So at 10 years old, we moved into this pretty awesome place on the lake, So I grew up swimming, boating, jet skiing, just love being outdoors, fishing, all that kind of stuff. Me and my cousins, I was the oldest of 7 boys on my mom's side of the family. And
7 boys.
Yeah, dude, it was crazy.
Wow.
There were 6 of us here. One of them was in Ohio, but so there was 6 boys, man. It was nuts. Is it 6 boys? 3.
Yeah. Nice.
So I was the oldest of 6 boys, and we hung out all the time. My mom was super close with her sister, and they lived here in Loveland, and since they've moved out of town. But man. So it's just like chaos, as kids. Like my aunt lived on this huge farm. My parents lived on a 3-acre property on the lake, so we could go do whatever we wanted, man. Like 10 years old, 12 years old, shooting BB guns all the time, shooting each other with BB guns. Like, just fun. We just had a lot of fun riding horses, jumping out of trees, constantly fucking ourselves up.
Yeah.
But it was fun. It was a great childhood. I really enjoyed it. I have a younger brother and an older sister. I'm a middle child. So really my background, dude, is solid. Was raised in the church. I think there was some pain that came out of that situation. The church, it was super judgmental at the time. It wasn't really a place where you could find freedom from what was going on in your life and your heart. And it was just a place where you didn't really bring that stuff up. If you were struggling with pornography or alcohol or drugs or whatever it was, man, you kind of kept it to yourself. And that was kind of how my dad was. His dad was a pastor, Mennonite pastor. We have very deep Amish Mennonite roots in our family. So most of my family's from Ohio, Pennsylvania.
Did you ever go back there?
Not very often, a little bit. Last time I was back there is when my grandma died. It's probably a decade ago.
Oh, okay.
So my dad hated it so much. I don't really think that he had a super great relationship with his father. I don't know for sure. I know that they weren't super close. My grandfather was very religious, not spiritual, but religious. And it
There's a
was like,
difference.
there's a huge difference, and it was very much like, if you don't eat your dinner, you get spanked. If you don't listen, you get spanked. I mean, it was everything, dude. Like, if you weren't a perfect child, you got disciplined for it. And I really think that that's like the environment my dad was raised in. Now, I'm sure it wasn't that strict. I know my grandpa, he was a pretty hard dude, but, he had some compassion and things like that. He was a good grandfather to us. So I don't know, man. Like, I just think as soon as my dad could, he hightailed it, brought us out here. And, yeah, so I didn't have a deep connection to that side of my family until probably the last, honestly, dude, since I had kids, the last 6 years. So I think my dad was kind of the black sheep from the family, like everybody else in that family is very spiritual, very religious, has deep faith beliefs, which is great. They're amazing people. I love them to death. They're very supportive of my wife and I and our family today. So nothing bad to say about that. It's just the environment that I think my dad came out of and rebelled against it, And so it's like my dad was kind of a rebellious person. And so I remember being a kid and my dad was telling me these stories. And specifically, I was in 7th grade and I got one of my teachers to fill out, like, we called it a disciplinary slip, a D slip. And I had him fill it out and sign it. And then he just signed a blank one. So I had my sister write in there that I got caught with marijuana in my backpack just to fuck with my mom.
Okay.
Just as like a joke. Like, I thought it would be funny. My sister and I planned this whole like thing out and none of it was true. My mom flipped out.
Yeah.
Starts calling the school and I'm like, no. Like, it was a joke. I'm sorry. Like, let's not get anybody in trouble. And she's like, what is wrong with you? And I'm like, I just wanted to have a story like dad, like kind of like, so at a young age, dude, I'm idolizing rebellion.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I never drank, I think the first time I drank, I was 14 and it was my buddy Tyler and I, who has since passed, rest in peace. And we were like putting shots in a beer can. It was just like, let's get drunk and see what this is like. And it was horrible. We're 14 years old, throwing up all over the place. And that was it, dude. Like, I maybe smoked weed once in high school. I met a gal my sophomore year. I was probably 15 or 16. And we dated for 4 years and I fell in love with her.
Mm-hmm.
And, I think that she loved me too. And it was kind of a different relationship in the sense that we were both very into our spirituality and faith at the time. And so we spent a lot of time in youth groups together, missions trips, things like that, So that was kind of like the center of and in our friend group, like my buddies were there. My 2 best friends were there, Thomas and Tyler. My girlfriend's best friend was there. So we had this like little clique of 6 people. We all went to high school together. We all had kind of the same schedule our senior year in high school where we could take every other day off and go snowboarding because we had this business work experience class. So we all worked nights and then we would just go snowboarding.
Wow. Where'd you go?
Copper. We had the Epic Pass then. So
okay.
Yeah, wherever we could, we'd try to bounce around but it was every other day, dude. Like, we'd just pack in my car and go hit the mountains.
Amazing.
Back in the days when a pass was $250 and, you could get a checking account at Wells Fargo and get a buy one, get one free.
Oh, yeah.
It was awesome, dude. So we'd go in there.
They don't do that anymore.
I know. We totally gamed that system, but yeah, dude, so that was like my high school experience, right? Like, madly in love with this girl. Like, we're going to get married. And I'm 18, 19 years old in high school. Like, I'm a guy, I'm horny. Like, I want to do this stuff. And we never did anything physical, her and I. Like, it wasn't a physical relationship. It was very pure in my opinion. And when we broke up, she broke up with me. I mean, and I will admit, like, I went to a party and fooled around with, like, made out with some other girl. And, it was kind of like post high school. We're graduating. She's about to head off to California. This whole thing is going to fall apart, and it's just, we both know it. There's no way we can do long distance. So I've kind of got that in my mind. And I like felt some chick up one night and, told her about it because I felt bad, and she made this huge deal out of it and broke up with me and basically told me that I was a piece of crap and that she deserved, somebody that was more godly and more da-da-da and all this stuff. And, in my opinion, whatever. It was a mistake, sure, but it broke my heart, dude. It sent me down this path of just destruction. And it was just, I didn't know how to deal with that kind of pain, and it was like somebody ripped my heart out of my chest.
Let me ask you real quick.
Yeah.
Do you feel like you were never enticed by all the partying in high school because of her?
Probably. I wanted to. I definitely want. I remember asking my parents, like, I want to go to this party, and they were like, no, like, you can't do that. We can't condone that. That's the kind of kid that I was in high school. Like, I was very honest.
For her too?
No, she had her own. Her parents were same, super successful dad. They trusted us, dude. Like, we never gave them any reason. Like, I would sleep at her house with her during the week. Like, we'd get up and go to school together.
In high school?
Yeah, dude. Like, we never were having sex. Like, and it didn't happen all the time. It wasn't like I was living there. But there would be like a handful of times that we would fall asleep on the couch, or something like that. And I'd wake up and her dad would make me breakfast. And it was that kind of relationship, dude. Like,
that's amazing.
We were in a very good place.
Yeah.
Spiritually, emotionally, like, just in a really good place in high school, and I wanted to party and do those kinds of things, but not to the level that it got to later in my life. I never really wanted that. I just wanted to experience a good time. I wanted to go out and have friends and be friends. And I think that if my parents would have said yes in that scenario, I don't think we would have gone and got hammered. We maybe would have had a couple beers, maybe. My parents knew where we were, so we could have called them. Yeah. And it's just like, I just think, like, why hinder that? And I could have been more honest about it with my dad, but I'm 17, 18 years old. Like,
wow.
And so it's just like, but they axed it like hard no, like, you cannot do this. And so I listened, but I think that, you have that desire and you don't do anything with it. It's still there.
Yeah.
And it's probably just going to grow and get greater. So anyways, fast forward like a couple of years, we break up. My heart's broken. It's like a serious, true, real amount of pain.
Mm-hmm.
And pain that I'd not really felt before.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't know what to do, and it was just like, I remember I had moved to San Francisco kind of in this weird puppy dog effort to follow her. Like, maybe she had moved to Southern California for college, and I didn't get into college. I didn't really want to go to college. I just wanted to get into trades and stuff like that. So
was it real quick? Was it one of those things where you thought like San Francisco was like 20 minutes away from Southern California?
No,
I'd be that dumb. Like, oh yeah, I was just in San Francisco, right?
No, I knew that they were pretty. I was about 4 hours from her campus, but I moved to San Francisco because I had friends there.
Oh, okay.
So, my buddy after high school, my buddy Tyler Hoffman and I, again, rest in peace. We took a 2-week road trip to California after we graduated, and him and I. We just spent 2 weeks out there. We had some friends out there that we had met through youth group that had graduated the year before we did. So we went out to surf and hang out with them. And again, good Christian guys, like, good network out there. So I moved, and I was living with a bunch of dudes right on the beach, and it was awesome, man. We had a great time. And I was going to go to school, but I didn't. I ended up working at a sandwich shop in Daly City. And, I was like 6 months there, and I just finally couldn't afford it. But dude, that's when things went off the rails for me.
Mm-hmm.
I was 19, and all that happened where this gal told me that basically, I was a piece of shit, and the 4 years that we had just dumped into this relationship were gone, and it was over. So, and that was that in my mind, dude. Like, it was done. Like, come to find out years later, she was playing some kind of game where she wanted me to come down there and chase her, and I didn't realize that. And anyways, it was just this stupid situation. But
man, that's the worst game ever.
Was.
There's this, not like it matters, but there's a girl in college that did that same thing.
Yeah,
they push you away, and then you're done. They're like, oh,
yeah,
really?
And then they get upset about it. I was like, are you fucking kidding me? Like, it was so stupid. And so I just remember her telling me that. And I remember, dude, I was going around this roundabout in the Sunset District in San Francisco, and I slammed my hands on the steering wheel and I said, fuck this. I said, fuck God, fuck this. I'm doing this my way. And I turned my back on everything. Everything.
So this is when it starts.
Yep. And I'm pretty sure that night was the first time I just got so high out of my mind that I didn't even know where I was. And it was like all of a sudden it was the doors are open to everything. Alcohol, drugs.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't give a shit. You know, I was broken. I was done. And it was just like I had put 20 years of my life into this faith, into this spirituality to, just absolutely crushed by it. And so I was, in my mind, it was like, this is the problem. And I turned my back on it. And I told my roommates.
Wait, God and religion was a problem?
Just all of it, the life, having it a part of my life, like surrendering to other things, it didn't make sense to me anymore. To me, it was a cop out, I was like, I've never physically seen God. It was everything that I think a normal person would say in that situation. Like, fuck this.
You worked so hard to be a good person, a good life, and then she leaves, and now you're here doing this. Like, fuck it, let's go get high.
This, I'm like, I've got this desire. Like, my friends are out having a good time, meeting all these women. That looks like fun. I'm gonna go do that.
Mm.
And I did, dude. And not only did I do it, but I married it. And it was so much fun, dude. So much fun. The first time I ever did cocaine was in San Francisco. We used to walk through San Francisco State, and they had in the, where all the frat houses and shit were. And we just walk up to a door and be like, who do you know here? Oh, we know Johnny. Oh, come on in, man. Fucking drugs everywhere, everywhere. And dude, it was just, I was 19 and couldn't even go to the bars. My boss at the sandwich shop would take me to bars that he knew the bartender, and it was just, and they're blowing lines of coke behind the bar and, all kinds of shit, dude. And it was fun. It was the surf life. I mean, what's the bay that's right there with the big wave surfing, just right outside of San Francisco?
I couldn't tell you.
Dude, it's world fame. Maverick.
Okay.
Mavericks. Is that what it's called? Something like that. But dude, 50, 60 foot wave that these guys go surf. It's unbelievable. Wow. And it's a half a mile off the coast. And we would just go watch these guys surf, dude, and just get blasted.
50 feet?
50 feet. I'm not shitting you, dude.
We went to Hawaii like about a year and a half ago. I struggled on like a little 2 foot.
Yeah, dude.
It bothered me because I snowboard, I skateboard, like I'm comfortable.
So you have to think about this. A wave, they measure it from the top of the water to the top of the wave, right? You're already submerged 4 feet, 5 feet, or up to your neck. So even a 5 foot wave, dude, feels like it's 15 feet, Man, because it's right at your head.
We went to Camp Pendleton to see my wife's brother-in-law when he was there.
Yeah.
And maybe 5 foot waves. Maybe. I'm trying to surf him. It just got annihilated, dude.
Yeah.
Oh my God. That's impressive. 50 foot.
Dude, and I'm telling you, Jeff Clark is world famous. He was the only one that surfed this wave for 20 years. All by himself, dude. Crazy. And then all of a sudden, big wave surfing starts to hit the scene. And right around the time of the El Nino storm in 95, that's when Mavericks went off, dude. Like, there's a documentary on it, on big wave surfing. It's called Riding Giants. You should watch it. It's fucking unbelievable. Half Moon Bay. That's what it was called. Half Moon Bay. The wave is Mavericks. So we used to just go there, dude. And there was a hat shop that my boss owned there that I worked at every once in a while. But it was more just like we'd basically give drugs to the surfers. And dude, in Daly City, we had all the cops. Like, we owned a sandwich shop right across the street. And dude, we just give the cops free shit all the time. My boss was like, just whatever they want, give it to them. And so I'd get pulled over with a Mr. Pickle shirt on anywhere in San Francisco and then be like, oh, you're good, man. So like we had these ins, right? So I got busted with drugs all the time. And there was no consequence. Like I was connected to this dude that was connected to the city. And that was it. Like, dude, I remember getting pulled over with a half ounce of weed sitting on my dashboard And this is in like 2005.
Why are you driving with it on your dashboard?
Because I'm fucking high. And I didn't think about it. Dude, that's where my mind was. Like, there was no consequence for anything, and I knew it.
Hey, that's
and
more power to you, buddy.
Yeah, and so it was like, dude, I get pulled over. There's a bunch of weed on my dashboard, and he's like, really? And I was like, oh shit, dude, sorry. I was like, I don't really know what to tell you, And he's like, sees my Mr. Pickle shirt sitting on the fucking on my passenger seat, and he's like, do you work at Mr. Pickles? I'm like, yeah, man, I'm the manager in Daly City. And he's like, all right. He's like, maybe hide your weed, bro, and lets me go.
For real?
Yes, dude, I could have gone to jail.
Easy. That's way before it was legal, right?
100%. Yeah. I mean, this is 2005. So, dude, you get caught with a half an eighth, you're getting arrested and going to jail.
Man.
So, like, the cop was cool. I get off, 0 consequences, start doing cocaine with these college kids. Like, dude, just crazy, man. And honestly, I just got so depressed out there because the weather sucked. There's no sun. The summer months out there are like September, October, November. And so when I moved there, it was beautiful. But, after November, it's like clouds for months. Very depressing, super gray. So I just like got depressed, man. Like for the first time in my life, was super depressed. Yeah. And so I moved home. At that time, my dad had just gotten in a motorcycle accident. He hit a deer at 85 miles an hour and almost died. So that was a big factor for me coming home too. Like my family needed my help. So I come back, and my dad was pretty well healed up at that point. He's back on his feet, and I went to be a snowboarding instructor. I was like, I love this lifestyle of drugs and weed, and I love to snowboard, like, and skate and do all that stuff. Like that was my enjoyment, right? As a young kid, I was a really good skater, semi-professional snowboarder at one point. So it just like, I loved it, and at that time in that world, man, it was just like, fuck the system. Snowboarders and skiers were polarized against each other. It was just this environment of like, we are little hellions.
Counterculture.
Yeah, exactly, dude. And we embodied it and embraced it in a way that, I mean, I lived it.
Did you ever wear Jinkos?
In middle school.
Sorry, I don't know where that came from, but like
that one, that's a fad that I don't know what the fuck we were thinking.
Man, my mom never let me buy the big Jinkos.
Oh, I had one pair. Remember Zones too, like Zones and Jinkos, man. But yeah, I remember like my mom liked it because she would buy us Lunchables and we just put them in our back pocket and go take them.
They're so practical, bro. Seriously, think about it.
So stupid.
So anybody from Jinko listening, go ahead and send us a pair. We'll start it up again.
You know what? Honestly, if you guys send me a pair of Jinkos, I will wear them.
With a Lunchable in the back pocket.
Exactly. If you can find them.
Oh my God, dude.
So anyways, yeah, like, so now I'm back from California in that world, like snowboarding, and worked at Loveland Ski Resort here. And if anybody knows Colorado, it's right on the east side of Eisenhower Pass. And I mean, it's the cheap mountain, if you go through the Eisenhower Pass, you get Keystone, Breck, all these world-class resorts. And I'm not saying that Loveland isn't world-class, but it's definitely on the low end of the totem pole.
May Basin, dude, they were the best.
Yeah, dude. And we had these like competitions with those guys. And dude, I was good. This is like, so I started doing this when I was halfway through my 19th year. And, I mean, at that time, dude, we had snowboarded. I'd probably had, probably 2,500 days on my board at that point.
Oh yeah. Easily 100 days a year.
Yeah. So yeah. And so I'm like, I'm good automatically. Like I'm way up here, top echelon. Like they're like, we want you to teach all of our park classes. We'll pay for you to go get certified.
That's when park was blowing up.
Yeah, dude. And it was
really
huge.
Took a hold of it all.
Yep. So, and I loved it, man. I embodied it. I was super good at rails. Got sponsored by a local shop in Empire. They gave me a bunch of free shit. And, I got to travel around Colorado and do some local competitions. And it was fun, man. I think at that time in my life, I was so focused on that I wasn't drugging and drinking a lot because I wanted that to happen, and it was just like, I really wanted that to happen. And I got into slope style and I wasn't as good at that. And I fucked myself up. So slope style is like, you start doing big jumps, big air, corked out, misty flat, all kinds of crazy stuff. And the progression of the sport has just gotten to a place where it's unbelievable, dude. Like,
awesome, isn't it?
Yeah, it's crazy. Like,
it's it's not gymnastics, but it's gymnastics.
Kind of. I mean, it's like, dude, it's like Cirque du Soleil on a snowboard. Like, I don't know how these guys are doing some of this stuff. And it's just bigger, farther, faster, and then in 9 months, I think I broke my wrist, both my wrists, 4 of my ribs, my collarbone, had an AC separation, and broke my ankle. In 9 months, dude. Like, I still struggle with pain from those injuries.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like at the end of that year, through the pain, all of that stuff, that's when I started drinking a lot again because I was in a lot of pain.
Were you ever doing pills?
No, dude. Thank God I dabbled a little bit during the opioid epidemic. But this isn't my story to tell, so I won't go too far into it. But I had somebody super, super close to me that did get addicted to it.
Yeah.
And we watched that happen. And it was a shit show.
Oh, man.
And it was really, and this person was super close to me. And it was really, really hard to watch.
Mm-hmm.
So we fucked around with it a little bit before we knew exactly what it was. But I think it made me so sick that I didn't like it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, that's good.
Like, it was a downer, dude. Like, I didn't like feeling the way that those made me feel. And I like the uppers. I liked Coke and ecstasy, and I like the things, the party drugs, So I guess at that point you could classify that shit as heroin. So that's probably the worst thing that I ever did.
It's for sure heroin.
Yeah. It's like, I mean, it basically was heroin. Yeah. So and we were snorting it for a little bit, but again, it got to a point where I just didn't like that,
Sure.
So
yeah, you're recovered from busted up from snowboarding.
Busted up from snowboarding and start drinking again and getting more into the party scene. And at this point, like, I can't do I have zero health insurance. And we get zero fucking health insurance through the mountain. It's dog shit. So I'm paying out of pocket, dude, for all this shit. And one of the places I got treated was at Copper Mountain. So it was like 8 times the amount that it should have been. So anyways, I can't work. Right. So now I can't teach these park classes. I kind of lose that identity. And I'm teaching level 1 kids, but I can barely breathe because my ribs are broken.
Mm.
And so it's just like, dude, I'm like just drinking throughout the day, like going out to my car and drinking and smoking. And that's what I had for pain management. I didn't have anything else. I didn't have insurance. So I just kind of had to tough it out, and let it heal on its own. And it was excruciating. So I think that at that point, dude, like, I just got bored, and I'm probably 20 at this point, and it starts to get pretty bad. Like, we're going to bars and I'm blacking out almost every night, at 20 years old. And so I leave that environment. The season ends, seasonal job, obviously. I got nothing going on for the summer, but I got to pay rent in the mountains. And so I finally decide, like, hey, this is not where I want to be. I'm busted up. I'm never going to make it. I'm almost 21 at this point. Like, my time is gone. If I was going to get picked up and sponsored, it would have happened already. So I quit doing that, moved back home and take a real job with my dad. And I mean, we can fast forward a little bit through this because I worked for my dad for, I don't know, 4 or 5 years. He helped me get set up, bought a house when I was super young. I was probably 22, 23. But dude, all the while through my 20s, I just was a shit show with women. Like, I think my heart was so broken from that relationship that I didn't know. I think I'd built a wall, and I didn't realize it until way later. But dude, I destroyed women through my 20s, destroyed relationships, led people on, told them I loved them, and then left them the next day. It was fucked up, man. I was so fucked up, and I was drunk all the time. I was throwing parties and going to college parties, and dude, my dad is kicking me off job sites. Like, go the fuck home, dude. You smell like booze.
Yeah.
And I'm 23 years old playing beer pong with my roommate in my basement by ourselves, like, on a Tuesday. It's just, we were so addicted to that lifestyle. And I honestly think if I would have channeled that in somewhat like snowboarding, or skating or something like that, that would have actually been productive, then I don't think I would have struggled this way. But, my story didn't go that way. And So, dude, I'm
No, you can't beat yourself up on that, man.
no, and I
Everybody
don't.
does.
Yeah, and I don't. I think my biggest regret for my 20s is the people that I hurt.
Sure.
The women that I abused, the relationships that I abused, the people that I lied to, and that I just didn't give a shit about because I wanted to have fun and party. Like that's my biggest regret. I'm a very self-deprecating person, naturally. So I have to work on that. So it's like so fast forward, dude, and I'm partying all through my 20s, living in Denver, get a job in telecommunications. So I start traveling. That job actually ends up helping me not drink. And I quit smoking cigarettes at that point because I get connected to this dude who's like, man, you're better than that. Like, you don't need to drink. You don't need to smoke. And he just was this awesome dude. Like,
Yeah.
and he was sober. So, and I just didn't realize that. We went to the bar one time and I'm fucking hammered. And, I'm like, hey, let me buy you a beer. Let me buy you a beer. And he's like, no, dude. Like, finally he looks at me. He's like, I'm an alcoholic, Mitch. He's like, if I drink one beer, I'll tear this fucking place apart. And I was like, oh shit. Like, okay. And that was my first experience with like, oh, this guy is actually like an alcoholic that's not drinking, and I was like, that's fucking stupid, and I basically was like, asked my boss, I was like, I want to work with somebody else. Like, I don't want to work with this guy. He's no fun.
Whoa.
And so they put me with a different team and this motherfucker smoked meth. So luckily I never did that, but found out later that he's like cracked out the entire time we're on these jobs and they're drinking like crazy. So obviously I fall back into that, start smoking again, and go back into my old habits and quit that job, moved to Denver, stay in telecommunications, and dude, this company that I work for in Aurora, 90 hours a week is common. We're on the road 2-3 weeks at a time, building cell phone towers all over the country.
Mm-hmm.
So it was a fun job. I enjoyed the work. I enjoyed the travel until I wanted to settle down.
Love that per diem, huh?
Yeah, dude.
Per
And
diem
that's, we lived
money.
it. Exactly. But it got to a point where I started running jobs and these guys were so useless because they drank so much. And I finally was like, no, like I'm holding on to all of your per diem. You guys cannot go to the bar. You cannot go drink. You can't drink in your room. I was like, if anybody shows up on this job site smelling like booze, I'm firing you. You're gone. Mm-hmm. And I fired half my crew. And my boss was like, you actually don't have the power to do that. And I was like, I don't give a fuck. Then fire me because I'm not working with these people because they don't show up to the job site till 10 o'clock. Oh. And I'm like, this is crazy, dude. So I was like, send me some, and all the meanwhile, I'm not drinking, right? Because I have to set this example. So all along my story, there's avenues, right? Of outs, of ways to get out, of ways if I just would have focused on this path,
mm-hmm.
then maybe, I don't know, maybe it wouldn't have gotten as bad as it did. And so, but again, I quit that job. I didn't actually, let me back up. So December 24th, 2012 is I'm at my parents' house for Christmas, still living in Denver, doing that cell tower job, drinking like crazy with my aunt and my mom. And
how old are you then?
25, 26.
Okay.
12 years. Let's see. It's 25, 13 years ago. It's 25.
Yeah.
So get hammered, dude. They start kind of, in my opinion, teaming up on me. Dude, I walked back to my parents' place and I punched the back window on their house. Not just once, twice.
Were they asking you, like, where did that come from? Were they like saying, hey, you need to stop drinking? Were they kind of
no, dude? They were as fucked up as I was. They were probably calling me out for something that, I was a hothead, dude. Like, you can't call me out for shit. Like, you can't tell me anything. That was my attitude. And in the meantime, like 20 to 25, dude, like bar fights are a weekly occurrence.
Oh man, were you out looking for him?
Oh yeah, big time. We called it frat boy bashing.
Really?
Yeah. We hated them, dude. Like, that's all we did was we'd go out and find frat boys and pick fights with them. I can't tell how many kids I've thrown in the fountain in Old Town Square or been thrown in the fountain. Like, dude, and I always told myself, I was like, I have to know that I can kick somebody's ass and get my ass kicked. And we did all of that and got arrested multiple times for that, for fighting and, being drunk in public. And I was at one point facing felony assault charges for breaking some kid's jaw because I kneed him in the face, in front of 250 people. So luckily nobody came forward, and the guy couldn't remember who I was. So nothing happened. And it's just like shit like that, dude, just constantly living on the fringe.
Chaos sounds
Yeah.
like.
Yeah, pretty much. And, it's just like, how close can we get to the edge without going over?
How comfortable were you in that chaos?
Pretty comfortable, man.
It's weird, right?
Yeah. It's all I knew, and all the while it's like this pain that I got when I was 19 is like, I'm just burying it, and and also a huge part of our high school experience that I didn't touch on was death. We had a lot of death in our, I think my sister, by the time my sister and I graduated high school, I think we had lost maybe 10.
Wow.
To suicide, crazy, whatever, remember one guy was at a party and mixed the wrong drugs and died. One girl died at a party from meningitis, like just crazy shit, dude. Like, so we had a lot of that growing up, and that was normal. I remember a kid got stabbed in the parking lot at Thompson Valley. Like, we're like 19 years old, dude. Like, this is the mentality, right? This is the area like that we're living in, and it's just permeated everywhere in the youth, and meth is a huge problem in our town at that time. So I just want to paint that picture. Like, it was a very drug induced, like, and I didn't have to go that road, right? There was kids that were on the other side of that spectrum, but we weren't. Like, that was the world that we wanted to live in. And so, yeah. So anyways, 26, dude, or 25, Christmas Eve, punched the window.
Not once, but twice.
Twice. I hit it twice because I wanted to break it. In my mind, I'm like, I'll show them, I'm going to cut myself up good and they're going to feel bad about it.
So you did this to hurt yourself?
Yeah. And I did it to make them feel bad about what they had done. It was selfish as fuck, dude. But my plan was dumb because my parents' glass is tempered. And if you know anything about glass and tempered glass, it breaks one direction. So, and it breaks in very small pieces. So when I punched in, those shards of glass went in. When my hand went through, all of those shards of glass were pointing inward, and then I pulled my hand out. And when I did that, it was like 1,000 razor blades going into my arm, and it almost cut my hand off. And I cut from bone to bone, tendons, arteries, everything, completely severed. I lost all use of my hand. This is really hard to talk about. This is something that I'm still trying to deal with, and it's just hard to talk about.
That's good, man. It's healing.
Yeah, and so I did that, and I had to go out into the barn at midnight and put a tourniquet on myself to stop the bleeding. I mean, I was covered in blood. I had severed both my arteries, and I'm losing blood at an exponential rate. And so I sober up immediately, and I'm like telling my mom, like, stand on my arm. Like, you have to stop the bleeding or I will die before the doctors get here. So I had enough presence of mind to take care of myself. But I did that to my mom on Christmas Eve, and basically our house was a murder scene because of my drinking and selfishness and all of that, and so that's kind of a cloud that my family has over it now around Christmas, around this time. And it's super fucking hard sometimes to deal with. I have nightmares about it from time to time. So it's just something that I got to deal with. It's a decision that I made, and might still live with it today. Like, I only have 80% use of my hand. A lot of people don't notice it, but I can't pull I don't put anything in my right pocket because I can't feel it with my fingertips. So it's just, that happened. And the fucked up thing about all that is I drank for 12 more years.
Right. So another avenue where
I could have stopped. I was in rehab. I was not rehab, I was in therapy. And that was the number one thing my therapist asked me. He's like, why the fuck are you still drinking?
Man, there's so much that in my life too, that different levels of rock bottom.
Yeah.
You think you can not get any worse, but all of a sudden a little bit of sand. Oh shit, I can go deeper.
Right.
And you do it.
Yep.
It's
And
incredible.
dude, the crazy thing about my journey with alcohol is at that point in time, I didn't think alcohol was a problem.
At that point, so right at that moment, like when you're healed up and everything,
Yeah.
you're all good to go. Alcohol's not the problem.
I didn't feel like it was. I didn't think it was. I think I was just so addicted to it. I was like, no, that's not a problem.
Did you have any problems? Like, did you think anything was I don't know what I'm trying to say. So if alcohol wasn't the problem, was there anything else that was a problem?
I was a highly, highly anxious and aggressive person. So I think I struggled genetically with high amounts of anxiety and depression, just naturally. So I'm on medication for it now through the rehab process. So I think I was dealing, one, with this pain that I didn't know how to do with, a father that is kind of emotionally not available. He just kind of, and this isn't a dig on my dad. Like I have a great relationship with my dad, but he just didn't show up emotionally in the ways that I needed him to. He didn't help me understand what was going on inside of me, but I don't think that he could, because I don't think that he knew.
Sure.
I don't think he didn't struggle with that the way that I did. And he tried to help me in the ways that he could, put me on the right path. He was the one that suggested I get into real estate. He was always encouraging me. So I have to give him that. But he just wasn't emotionally there.
Mm-hmm.
And again, I just think that was part of his story and part of his past. Like, I just don't think he learned how to do that, And my mom, and I probably am too emotional for a guy, I guess you could say that in this world. But I don't think that that's a weakness. I think that that's actually a strength. So anyways, yeah, dude, after the hand thing, it was brutal. Like I had to quit my job. So basically I filed for all government assistance to help me pay off my medical bills because I had no insurance. I got fired because I couldn't do my job anymore. Actually, they didn't fire me. They made me quit so they didn't have to pay me unemployment. So it was just a whole fucked up situation, dude. And I was so depressed, just hated myself for a long time. A long time.
So this is when it gets, now I'm sensing in this story, I see where this is going.
Yeah. This is where it gets really dark.
Yeah.
This is where suicide starts to enter the picture and ideations of suicide. Just after that time, man, it was so brutal. I can't tell you how many times I'd wish that I died that night. I didn't want to fight the fight. I didn't want to go to physical therapy. And dude, I'm talking exercises like move this knuckle. This is the hand that's fucked up. Move this knuckle 40 times. Now move this knuckle. Then go back and move your second knuckle. Dude, it was grueling for 18 months.
Was it hard? Did it hurt?
Yeah, it hurt like a motherfucker.
Oh, bro.
And then I'd go in to meet with my physical therapist, who became a really good friend of mine. And dude, she would put these suction cups right on top of my scar and just push down on them and suck it up because she was trying to break scar tissue.
Like cupping?
Yeah.
Like what you said?
Basically, yeah. And it was unbelievably painful. So I did that for 18 months. All the while, dude, just burying my pain with drink.
Yep.
And smoking weed and, all that kind of stuff. And still drugging a lot, still doing coke, just trying to escape everything. And I think at this point it gets worse because I started doing it by myself.
Drugs too?
Yeah. I remember not very often, but I remember doing a whole gram of coke by myself one night, on a Tuesday night, and I had to go to fucking work the next day. It was bad, dude. I was hanging out with strippers and, getting coke from some pretty sketchy motherfuckers. And it was scary, man.
You know what's crazy, man? I made a bad choice in Vegas once to get drugs, and I tell the story now. And it's just crazy what you can do. It's crazy what you get used to.
Well,
man.
and what you're willing to do, the personal boundaries that you're willing to push and break, and it's just simply because you're not in your right mind. You're just looking for the next high, how can I deal with what's going on inside of me? How can I deal with this pain? How can I deal with the fact that I almost killed myself on Christmas Eve in front of my entire family? And it's just I have to wear that forever, and it's, so at that point in time, it was there's no way I'm ever going to come back from this. And so just, dude, probably 6 months of like, I didn't get out of bed. Like my mom called it, like people were like coming to our house, like, you need to get the fuck out of here. Like, this is going to kill you. So finally I had to agree to go to therapy and do all this stuff, and it's not helping. And basically, long story short, I go through 18 months of physical therapy. My hand gets better, still painful to this day from time to time. I can use it. I can, after that, I played softball, football. Like, I was out doing stuff. I always had this mindset of like, no matter what, like, this is not going to hinder me in my life.
Oh boy.
And it was like, I made that. And that was like the first step towards like real progress in my life of like, but I also wasn't dealing with the pain, right? And the emotions and all the shit behind it.
Mm-hmm.
I was still drinking that away. And then I started in real estate, got my real estate license during that time when I was laid up, and started working for a company here in town. Great company.
What year is this?
2012, the beginning of 2013. So okay. I started with the real estate company I started with in June of 2013, was there 10 years. I always tell everybody, like, real estate gave me my life back.
That's amazing.
And it really did. I started to surround myself with better people.
You're good at it.
At what?
I mean, the deals we've done together, man.
Thank you.
Like,
I appreciate that.
Yeah. I know you weren't at the best during the first one, but no one I've ever known.
Oh, I appreciate that. And yeah, dude, I really do enjoy it. Like, I like the process. It's very different from construction, obviously. I remember them giving me my desk, and I like went back into my managing broker's office like 40 minutes later. I'm like, what am I supposed to do? I'm just so used to being told what to do. Like, hey, Mitch, go do this job. Here's all your equipment. Here's your stuff. This is the process. Get it done.
Yep.
And so I was very good at that. And I enjoyed that. And so real estate was hard for me to get into because it wasn't that, there's no instant gratification.
No.
And it's a grind, and it's like a grind like I'd never grinded before. And it's calling people and putting yourself out there. And it's scary, and it's at times it's embarrassing, and you don't know what to say to people. And so I think that I learned grit early on in my life. Like, I'm just not going to give up. I think that is one thing I did get from my dad that I'm very grateful for.
Mm-hmm.
Now sometimes I fail during the process, but so I feel like I had that grit of like, okay, let's keep pushing this. Like, and in my mind at that time, I was like, if you fail in real estate, you're done. Like, it's over for you. You can't do construction. You suck at sales. Like, what the fuck else are you going to do? So in my mind, I'm like, you have to make it. There's no option.
Mm.
And I think that mindset is what helped me make it. Obviously we came into an insanely hot market. 2013 to 2020 was just gangbusters, dude.
Back, baby.
Yeah. So made a shitload of money. More money than I've ever made in my life. Meet my wife, get married, have 2 kids. All the while, I'm drinking.
Yeah.
And I'm fine. Every happy hour I get invited to, I'm driving home after having 5 whiskey sour, whatever, like, it was bad, man. Like, and it was
that 50-foot wave of chaos, bro.
Dude, for real. That's a good analogy. And it was acceptable, and my business partner at the time, dude, we had whiskey in our office, and it was a daily thing that we would have a drink at the end of the day. And so it was all that kind of stuff. And so I let it permeate my life there as well. And dude, it just ended up like last November is when I decided to go to rehab. October 17th. Well, let me back up a little bit. So 2021, I lost one of my best friends, Tyler Hoffman, and he committed suicide because of alcohol. And at the time, I spoke at his funeral. At the time, I was surprised with how much it didn't impact me emotionally. I didn't cry. It was weird, man. So I realized that I disassociate myself from things like that. I just pull my emotions out of it, and I look at it from a level of like reality. I don't know, like, okay, this happened. Like, take your emotions out of it. Look at it. It's like that fight or flight kind of response to things. But I've realized it manifests itself in my life later in negative ways.
Mm-hmm.
So with Tyler, it was the drinking, and COVID was going on, and I didn't realize it, dude, but I was, what was it, a half a handle, then went to 2/3. Then, you know, it just kept getting more and more and more. And it wasn't, I needed more to get drunk. And I finally, dude, October 17th last year, I was like, I grabbed a bottle and a gun, and it was, dude, I was done. I didn't want to be here anymore. Real estate was failing. I couldn't leave my house. You know, my son was sick all the time. My wife and I were fighting. Like, it was tough. You know, I was drunk. We had this 3-month cycle of, I would just lose my shit, you know, and come unglued on her and make it all her fault. And I don't even know half the damage that I did to my family yet. You know, I'm still discovering all of that as we go, earning my wife's trust back. But yeah, dude, it just got to that point. And that day, October 17th, I don't remember any of this. I drank that entire handle of vodka and ended up in the hospital. And I had agreed to let the cops come pick me up. And I don't remember any of this. And I was 6 times the legal limit when I got to the hospital. And when I came to, I had no idea where I was. And I freaked out. And so I started running, dude, like trying to get out of the hospital, like grabbing random ass clothes as I'm fucking running down the hallway, and get arrested, detained, whatever, didn't commit a crime, but had to go spend the night in the mental side of LCDC, the mental health side of LCDC, and basically on suicide watch for 2 days. All the time, all the while, my brother's there. I had no idea how long I was going to be there. Nobody would talk to me. Nobody would tell me what was going on. I mean, I was basically butt naked with a horse blanket in a rubber padded room, you know, and it's terrifying. You know, I'd been in jail cells before, but this was different, man. And I was starting to get sober. I was hungover, super emotional. And I remember one of the cops coming and letting me out, and he said, "You're lucky that you have a family, the family that you do, or else you'd be here for a long time." And I was like, "What?" And he's like, "Your brother's here to bail you out." So my brother bailed me out the day after I got arrested, and we went home. I saw my kids. My family had a little intervention, and I decided to go to rehab. So that starts this rehab process with my brother and my brother and my wife. And dude, it's 2 to 3 weeks before I can even start a program. And I'm like, it was crazy, dude. Like,
I don't understand. What do you mean? Why did it take so long?
One, we went and interviewed a place here in town that just didn't feel right. We walked out. My brother was like, no. I gave full autonomy to my brother at that time. I was like, dude, you make these decisions for me, because I'm not in my right mind.
Yeah.
I don't trust myself to make the right decision. So I signed a power of attorney for my brother to make these decisions for me. And they ended up putting me at North Point, which was great, dude. But it took time. The process took time, which is bullshit. It should not take time. Insurance, how are you going to pay us? It's exactly why Tyler died. And I relapsed in that time hard.
And for the record, I know this is kind of your story, but this is why I agreed to do this, is Tyler didn't have any options to get into rehab. So when he died by suicide, he was trying to find places to let him in, and insurance didn't take it, which pisses every single person off,
dude. Like, it's bullshit. Like, that should not be a thing, you know, like, it really shouldn't. I think rehab facilities should be 501c3s that receive donations, or at least have a branch of that. That's my goal at some point, is to bridge the gaps that we experienced in that process.
And that's what we're doing here with this podcast,
right?
Just so everybody knows. But anyway, please continue.
Yeah. So anyways, I get there, but it's a 2 to 3 week process before I can actually get into therapy. And I relapsed, dude. And I'm kind of glad it happened, because it put things into perspective for me. Like, everybody looked at me and was like, "Why did you do that?" And I'm like, why the fuck do you think I'm a fucking alcoholic? Like, this is how I've dealt with my problems for 20 years. Why would I not do this? You know? And it's like, I think it's crazy. I think you guys should be, you're asking the wrong questions. You know, like, how can we help you not do this again? That's the right question to ask. Not, why are you doing it? I'm doing it because I'm an alcoholic. That's fucking obvious. And so it's like, stop berating me for this disease that I have in my life. And that was like, it was clarity, like, okay, we're not going to go the negative route here. If I fuck up, we're going to identify the mess up, but we're going to move on. And we're also going to focus on all of the positive that's going on, right? Yeah, I relapsed, but I've also agreed to go to rehab. I've also agreed to get help. It's not my fault that I can't get into this program. I'm literally surrounding myself with everybody that I can to make sure that I don't drink. But dude, my drinking was in my truck. I would go to the liquor store or 7-Eleven and buy 99-cent Fireball shots or, whatever. And I had a freaking suitcase full of them in my truck. And so it was a habit, And so we ended up getting into rehab. And honestly, man, best process. I was kind of reserved going in, but I was ready to change. Yeah. I was just scared to admit all of it, the darkness and everything. And it's hard, it's hard to put all that stuff out there to people that you don't know. But in that environment, it was safe, and in that environment, it was the first time I truly opened up. I mean, I looked around and all I saw was compassion.
Bro.
And it was the first time in my life that I had experienced like, holy shit, like I don't have to do this.
Did it take a few days or was it that first time where you could be honest with yourself?
It took time.
Did it?
Yeah, it took time. And dude, I'm only a year into this journey, and it's like, this is a lifelong journey. And so this is like, I would consider myself an adolescent in this journey, and that's why I love being around guys like you, that have 8 years under their belt or 4 or 5 years under their belt. And, it's just watching you guys and seeing that life, and I'm still like, I think medically they say it takes a couple years for your brain to fully recover from high amounts of alcohol like that. Mm-hmm. And there's like, I'll remember things, weird things, like from my past or whatever, or from like a fight with my wife. So it's like, I feel like God is revealing things to me in the right kind of time. It's hard. My kids watched it happen. Especially my daughter, she was 5 at the time. So she realized, and I brought her into it. I wanted her to see me fail and succeed. I wanted her to see me pick myself up.
I'm pretty vocal about the sobriety with Connor too. I think it helps.
I do too, and the thing is I see so much of myself in her, but I have the tools to help her. I don't think my dad did, and that's not his fault.
No.
And that's where I'm trying to like, there was a lot of resentment for my dad coming out of that. Honestly, for my parents, just for the environment, like they kind of like, they hit success when I was about 10, 12, but he really hit it in development when I was probably 16. And dude, they bought a yacht and they left us for like 3 months. And, looking back on that, it's like that mixed with what happened with my high school girlfriend. It was like, I had some serious abandonment issues, that I had to deal with. And it was why I pushed women away in my 20s, right? Because you're not going to hurt me. I'm going to hurt you. Like it was a defense mechanism.
Better that way.
Yeah, it was a defense mechanism. Yeah. And I even like got really good at breaking up with girls, like, and it was savage, bro. Like it was just not fair to them. I mean, I teed them up and just destroyed them.
Man, I hope I hope there's a lot of people listening because that's very common, man. Like I sympathize with that. Maybe not necessarily the specifics.
Yeah.
But there's this commonality. Like you are in this crazy mayhem, and the second things are getting kind of mellowed out, nah, man, let's just go hit another wave.
And that's where it's like, I'm a huge proponent. I'll just say this. I've said it before, but I believe that Jesus died on the cross for us. That's my faith belief system. I believe in the Bible, but I also believe that the Old Testament is the Old Testament. I believe that Jesus came to live on this earth to show us a new way of living and a new way that can lead us to heaven, right? And that was the purpose of Christ on this earth. And it was love. It was going into the dark places and finding people that needed him.
Yeah, all the disciples were what? Fishermen and
dude, they were all the bad people. I mean, Matthew was a Jewish tax collector, like the scum of the earth. He took money from his own people and gave it to Rome.
So and pocketed a few.
Yeah, probably. Like yeah, and he was super successful. Like he had a nice house and And so it's just like, yes, Jesus picked broken people, right? Jesus picked people that needed him, and that's what this is all about. That's what my life from here on out is all about. Like the sober journey, everything, dude, has been amazing, but the spirituality piece is what's kept me sober, and doing this podcast and reaching back to find the next person, to pull them out of their abyss and shatter the darkness in their life, and I've done it. You've done it. A lot of people have done it. We're going to share those stories with you as we go through this podcast. But I mean, I've got goosebumps. I wasn't even sure that I wanted to do this today, but I'm glad that we did, because I think that everything I said in here was perfect. It was exactly what I wanted to say.
It's amazing.
And it's just, my life is not easy. It's difficult. My hand hurts at times. I still struggle with that same mentality that led me to drinking, of like, it's hard to deal with the emotion and the pain of life sometimes, but there's ways to do it and to do it healthy. And I just was never taught those as a young man. And so that's what we're here to do, is to remove the stigma from this, because this is a disease. This is a medically classified disease. It's genetic. Some people are predisposed to it. But I will say this, as I sit here today, I think my alcoholism is probably my favorite part of myself.
Are you proud of being an alcoholic? Not the destruction, but right now.
Dude, I heard this on another podcast. Yes, but not totally. I'm proud of myself for the things that I've accomplished so far, but there's more to be done. And that's the mindset that I want to take forward. So to answer your question, not yet. Soon. But it's we gotta turn around. We gotta send this message. We gotta get it out. We gotta go help the next person. And when we get to that point, then I think I'll feel a little bit more proud of myself. And then we'll find the next step, whatever that is.
Yeah, man.
And really it's just, I don't know. I mean, unless you're out committing crimes and shit like that, like, don't beat yourself up. We all make stupid fucking decisions. I mean, good Lord, I've made so many, and my life is still full. I'm still very blessed today. I have 2 beautiful children. I have a wife that loves me, that supported me through alcoholism, that had every right to leave me, and nobody would have blamed her.
Oh my God.
And
preach, brother.
She stayed, like she
somehow.
Yeah, dude. Like, she showed up in my life in a way that I needed her to, in a way that nobody else ever did. She stayed when shit got hard. She showed me loyalty, to the nth degree, like ride or die. And I know that's a cheesy term, but that is what she did for me, man. And I'll forever be grateful for that, and so look for the people in your life that love you, that care for you. We're here for you. This is obviously episode 1 of what we hope to be thousands, and we really just hope to normalize this process of sobriety, bridge the gaps that I experienced, that Tyler experienced. Eventually I'd love to start a 501c3 and have funds available for people that need help, rideshare programs. Like, we have great rehab facilities here in Colorado, great medical facilities, and I get it, man. The darkness is real, but there is light, and that's what we're here to show you. So I hope that my story can help you, and I hope that you guys learn some things from that, but it's only half over. We still got a lot of life to live. And, I'm excited to live on the other side of that coin.
Yeah, man. So, we're all super proud of you, dude. I know you're infants in this, and for anybody listening too, if you're just fresh sober, congratulations, number 1. Yeah. But don't take it for granted. That's what I'm trying to say. I mean, I'll be 8 years next week, and
it's awesome, dude.
This because you're gonna have times where it's gonna drum up stuff. Totally. And we want to do that with this, or I want to do that with this, asking the right questions so that we can deal with them. There's a common theme in Mitch's story here where I did too. You're not alone in that, and you listening, you're not alone with that either. But you're burying shit with alcohol because you don't want to deal with it,
right? Or you don't know how. And that was a real thing for me. I didn't necessarily know how to deal with it. I didn't realize that it was as simple as just talking about it. And dude, you got to think too. We're coming out of an environment where you're like, the people that we look up to are like, yeah, don't talk about that shit. You
Yep.
keep that to yourself. I don't want to deal with your problems.
Yep.
I got enough of my own problems. Like, I'm not going to do that. So we didn't have a platform for any of it, and that's what I think our generation, I'm a millennial, I'm 38. I think our generation will be known for mental health, for progressing mental health in a way that never has been done before. It's already happening.
Starts with accountability though.
100%.
You have to attack it in a way that you're going to work on this yourself. You're not going to just go to therapy and have someone just fix you.
And everybody will always say, you have to do this for you. You have to do this for you. That's bullshit. You have to want to do it, but you don't have to do it for you. It doesn't have to start there. It didn't start there for me.
Whatever your higher power is, your higher power could be, so you did it. You had spirituality, right?
I did it for my daughter.
Bam. Whatever it is.
I started the process for my daughter. It was super important to me that she saw me as a failure, but then she saw the process of me fixing it.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was my motivation at the beginning.
Yeah, man.
And then through the process, dude, you're like, oh, like you really start to learn some cool shit about yourself.
Yeah.
And you really break, like, I'll just use a pane of glass, for example. You break a pane of glass, dude, you get to sift through the pieces of who you are, and you get to take the pieces that you want and leave the pieces that you don't want, and all under guidance of counselors that are trained in this kind of stuff, and dialectical behavioral training and mental training and all of it, dude. Like, simply just shocking your brain into a different way of thinking by cold water in sensitive places of your skin, dunking your face in cold water. Like, those kinds of things helped me when I was really struggling with like the desire to drink.
Wild.
And it's just simple, dude, little tiny things that you have to be present all the time. You can't let go of it,
Dude, listen to you talk, man. God, I wish I would have done rehab. I think now I'm listening.
You know what? Go do it. I know it's expensive as fuck, but I seriously, there's so many times that I'm like, I just wish I could go back to my rehab class and just talk to those people.
Dude, I just stopped and I was like, no, don't leave me. I stopped drinking.
Like, hey man, and you know what? Good for you. Like, if you have that level of like personal awareness, and like, dude, you have way more grit than I do. Like, you just looked at it and were like, all right, I'm done. Like, this is not important to me, my family, and that's cool, man. Like,
well, to be fair, Phil, thank you for saying kind things. I was in so much pain.
Yeah.
I was hiding. I was lying. I was hurting. I was fucking crying. All of it, man. And I needed to stop. I just didn't know how.
Yeah.
And then, when she gave me that push, it was like, but can I just be honest with you for a minute? Can you just like go look at my car?
Yeah. And dude, that was like the most freeing thing when you finally release all of the shit that you've been hiding for years, and I find that I did the same thing. I when I admitted it, I opened the center console of my truck and it's like a foot deep and 8 inches wide. And it was fucking full, dude. There was 57 shooter bottles.
You counted them?
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's what I think is a fear for a lot of folks, because it was myself, was I was afraid to come clean because I thought everybody was going to leave.
Yeah.
When in fact, it was the complete opposite.
But dude, and it's this crazy, but everything you're doing and you're drinking is pushing those people away.
So I'm saying it's the opposite. Like the second you come, then now we're closer, and they didn't leave.
Dude, and that's the thing. My wife and I would have these 3-month cycles where we would fight like crazy, dude. Like bad. Like I was putting my hand through walls, and like I still have holes in doors in my house. And I kind of forgot where I was going with that, but we don't fight ever right now. Dude, I can't remember the last time that we got in a knockdown drag out. She annoys the shit out of me from time to time, but that's just people, that's just a relationship. Like, we deal with normal struggles in normal ways, and it's super not exciting, but it's good.
I was helping a good friend of mine get sober too, and he was asking, how do you deal with it? He has this job where he's in the restaurant world, and so when he walks in the door, he's a general manager. When he walks in the door, it's like problem, server this, expo that, right at you. And his coping mechanism was just, well, I'm just going to go to the bar. Give me 5 minutes to warm up. I mean, not exactly that, but you get my point.
Yeah, for sure.
And now he's 160 days. I texted him today and
That's awesome.
dealing
Dude.
with stuff, dealing with it properly, learning how to deal with it. And that's amazing.
It is. And there's a process to it. And I liked rehab because I was always a guided, I work better on a team, always work better on a team. If it's left up to me, myself, and I'm going to make fucking excuses and procrastinate all day long. But if I'm tied to somebody else, then and I'm responsible for things that is going to impact their life, it's much more motivating for me.
We should team up on Move Through the Darkness.
What's that?
The that Windsor Gibbs is doing.
Oh, the race thing?
Well, it's not a race thing. You could do physical activity, running, stuff like that. Okay. We could be a team,
I hate the fuck, dude. You're going to make me say this on here again. Okay, I'm in. I need to start.
Well, no. I mean, I'm not
dude, this is the thing right now. I need to start working out because my body hurts. Like, truly.
It's going to help you, man.
I know. And I'm almost 40. Not like a year and a half, but dude, I can feel it, man. Like I had cataract surgery this year. I'm 38 years old. Like that was from alcoholism and probably genetics, but I broke my foot in June, like got sober in November. Like my life has been fucking chaos for a year, but in all of it, dude, like I'm clear. I've got clarity, and it's like, you can find these small moments. Like our furnace just went out. We were out for a week, dude. Like my entire family just slept in our master bedroom and we had space heaters going everywhere. It was awesome. We got closer to our kids. Mm-hmm. And so it's you got to find the silver linings in life, dude, because 90% of life is going to kick you in the nuts.
Yep.
And it's the other 10% is how we respond to it.
I would say, 100% of it is, man. You can't blame what happens to you. You can totally control how you react to it.
Exactly. And take accountability for the mistakes that you make in your life. Personal accountability. We want to change the world. If everybody started taking personal accountability for the things and being like, you know what? Yeah, I did. I messed that up and I'm sorry. I won't do that again. That's all it takes, dude.
Yeah.
It's simple, but instead we point the finger at everybody else and we blame everybody else.
Having the ego to can't admit you're wrong. Freaking nuts.
So it's just, I don't know. That's why I think the biggest problem with the world is, and it's one of the biggest reasons I wanted to start this podcast, because 1, I'm tired of losing my friends. 2, I don't want to raise my kids in a world like this. This is a fucking crazy world that we live in right now where people are so confused about who they are, and it's just like, I don't understand that. And we're flooded with all this shit that we should be. You should be this, do this. This is success. This is that. No, fuck all that, dude. You gotta identify. You got to pick what you want in this life and go get it, and fuck what everybody else says. Mm-hmm. Because the media and this and that, dude, all they're trying to do is make a buck. You want to live a true, honest, spiritually full and healthy life, start taking personal accountability.
Bro, let's normalize that.
And you know what? And admit the things that you do wrong and then walk away from them the best that you can. Dude, we do that. And we start to embrace small imperfections in our life instead of perfection. Dude, everything will change. It's changed for me in 12 months. Just simply by doing that, my life is completely different. So anyways, we're running out of time on this.
It's amazing. It's good stuff, man. I wasn't doing that to say, hey, let's go.
No, I could get it, but we got 3 minutes. So guys, I just want to say thank you for listening to my story or podcast, Shattered Darkness. We're coming.
Yeah. Thank you for being strong enough to do this and strong enough to get sober, man. Let's you're doing a good job inspiring people.
Thank you.
Let's do the right thing.
Okay. Well, thanks for listening, guys. We'll be back with episode 2 very soon.